since so many gyms closed down around here, and people knew what was going to happen. People knew that, hey, if I can't go to the gym, I'm going to gain weight. And
Mhm.
like if I'm staying at home all day and just ordering Postmates, like I'm going to gain weight. People weren't blind to that. So people knew that this was also the time for them to like step up and take their fitness more serious. So I think a lot of people were kind of lost and afraid and like just didn't know what to do. So that's when people were like looking for someone to help like lead them and guide them. And since I did at first have a lot more free time, I took it as like an opportunity to like post more content, be the face of like the people in my area that's going to help everyone get through this, lose weight, get stronger. It doesn't matter if you don't have any gym equipment. It doesn't matter if you're like have like 5 or 10 pound dumbbells. Like I posted so much damn content for like people in all different types of situations. So when people finally did get back to like being able to work at like a steady pace for their job, a lot of them had already seen me from like the months of providing content, and a lot of them ended up reaching out to me for coaching.
What's up, guys? D Foss here with another LT360 podcast, and I am joined by someone way, way far away out on the other side of the country, Southern California. He is out in Orange County. He is a powerlifting coach. He is huge on Instagram. He has an ebook. He has tons of things going for him. He is the chosen Juan. His name is Juan Salgado. And I'm excited to have him on today. I've never had a true conversation with him. So these are some of my favorite podcasts to do. You just get a full insight of, what these people are made of and how they're trying to go about every day. So I really enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to it. So Juan, I thank you for coming on, man. I'm excited to converse with you and learn more about you, man.
Thank you for having me on, man. I'm super excited too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got to ask really quick, what does the SBD on your shirt even mean? What
Oh
is
yeah, yeah. Good question. Yeah, this is a it stands for squat bench deadlift. So it's a popular like powerlifting brand. And you know what's really funny about this is that it it never nobody ever gets it like right away. Like powerlifters who have been squatting and benching and deadlifting for like the longest time, they buy their clothing and like their knee sleeves and stuff, and like they'll have it for like years, and then one day it'll just hit them like, oh, it stands for squat bench deadlift. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that happen. It's
That's
hilarious.
actually hilarious. I had no idea that it would be related to powerlifting, but it makes sense.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, power lifters who know the squat bench and deadlift like they know the back of their hand, even they like completely like freeze and don't even realize what that means until like
Yeah,
months or years later.
as they're doing it in the gym, right? Like today's,
Yeah,
they're hitting all three major lifts, and they then they realize it. They're like, oh, that makes sense.
yeah.
That's funny. So Juan, how paint me a picture where you grew up.
Yeah, man. So I grew up in Santa Ana, California. It's about like an hour away from Los Angeles. Not too many people have heard about it. We're probably like 30 minutes away from Huntington Beach. It's predominantly a Hispanic type area, and I felt like I honestly grew up not really appreciating it in like my early years, but then as I got older, I realized that I think it's one of like the best places to grow up, just because like we're not like too close to like the Hollywood area where we kind of grow
Mhm.
up like privileged, but we're also not like super close to like Compton where it's like dangerous and stuff like that. But
You're in
we
that in
have like
between.
yeah, we have that in between, so it's like I definitely grew up like with some type of like struggle, so like I knew the importance of hard work, but
Mhm.
I also didn't have to like be careful with like going to like my car at night. Like I was still
Gotcha.
kind of safe. So it's a really really cool area. I love like representing it, and I plan to live like at least in the Orange County area for the rest of my life.
Damn, that's awesome. And in terms of uh, your family dynamic, were you only child? Are you youngest, oldest? How's that?
Yeah, I'm an only child. My parents didn't want to have like too many other kids, and I love it honestly. Like I I grew up just kind of like it just being normal. That's like if you ask any only child that like what it's like to grow up as an only child, they'll say it's just it feels normal.
Yeah,
But
there's no comparison.
Yeah, exactly. But as I got older, I realized that, man, like it was actually a really good thing. Because one thing about only children is that we're really good at being alone. And
Mm.
I heard on like the Joe Rogan podcast, I forgot the guy's name that he had on, but he said like learning how to be alone is probably like one of the greatest like superpowers that you could have. And man, I highly agree with that.
Dude, for one, Joe Rogan, yeah. For two, absolutely, like your ability to sit with your own thoughts is daunting to most people, and I think it's playing a big part, especially right now, just with COVID. It's playing a big part in just the psyche health of society in a sense, you know.
Yeah, dude, for sure. And it's like one of the hardest times to like learn how to be alone if you're not used to being alone, and like learning how to entertain yourself. And as an only child, that's like what the biggest thing that we have to do was like learn how to have fun without other people.
Without any siblings. Yeah, I came from a technically I'm the only child of my two parents, but I grew up with four brothers and sisters, two brothers, two sisters, all older, the youngest of five, and everyone was always around. So uh, I I understand, but I don't understand. I got a good mix of both, luckily, because they both had other either moms or dads, and that allowed some days where they weren't there for me to just kind of figure it out. But when you were growing up, were you a sports guy? Were you a big book guy? Like, paint that picture. What was your?
Yeah. So when I first got into sports, it was soccer, like literally like at age 3. It's which is
Mm,
like really young. A lot of people don't actually believe me when I tell them that, but like
yeah.
I have a cousin who's 4 years older than me, and he played in like the 7 and 8 year olds, and I have like multiple photos of me like playing with him, and he's like I said, he's 4 years older than me, so I was literally 3 years old,
3 years
3 or 4 years
old.
old playing with him, and I played that up until like I was 10 years old, and then I took about like a year off of just being lazy, and
Mm-hmm.
then after that I got into basketball, and I was like, man, I was so into basketball, like obsessed, like the way that I am now about fitness and powerlifting, just as obsessed with it. Like I'm talking, I'd wake up in the morning and like practice like shooting free throws, and then I'd play during recess, and then I'd come home and then go to the park and play till like 8 or 9 p.m. So yeah, dude, I've always been into sports. Even now, like I love watching sports. I watch like everything.
Hell yeah. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I watched the highlights of it.
Huh?
I was busy doing work, but dude, I love I don't even love football so much, but I just love studying like great athletes. So Tom
Yeah.
Brady, like I know a lot about him. He's one of the goats, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like just studying the best in anything, but especially sports, it can help you learn a lot about how to be successful in whatever like
Without a
career
doubt.
path
And
you
he
have.
grew up. He grew up not probably not too far from where you grew up. No.
Yep. I'm not sure where he grew up, but I do know that I believe. Man, I don't remember where he grew up at, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I do know that he definitely was like one of those people that growing up you didn't know that he would be like who he is today, and that
No,
just
not
seems
at
to be
all.
like the case with some people.
It wasn't like he came out of the womb a superstar, right? He wasn't really excelling at anything. He was just an average Joe, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. And your love for uh weightlifting and getting into the gym, did that start in high school? Did that start in college or in those later teen years? When did that kind of come into your life?
So in high school, I remember the first day they made us go into the weight room, and dude, I couldn't even bench press the 45-pound bar. Like
Yes,
it was
same here.
super embarrassing. Yeah, it was so embarrassing to like the point where I actually kind of hated it. But all the coaches that I talked to, like varsity and like even college, like trainers and stuff, they all said that, dude, I'm short, like average athleticism. The only way that I can think about going to the next level is like I had to get stronger. And
Mhm.
so I tried getting into it in high school, like my sophomore and junior year, but I could never stick with it for more than like a week. So it wasn't until after winter basketball senior year that I finally just got into it because I injured my ankle and I was out for like 3 weeks and I saw myself gaining weight and I did not
Interesting.
like that feeling. So that's when I finally joined the gym. I joined a Planet Fitness and the rest is history. I fell in love with it ever since.
Damn, that's crazy. And what did you do post high school?
So post high school, I ended up going to community college, and I didn't know what I wanted to major in, so I just picked business administration.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working at Cold Stone. My very first job was Cold Stone Creamery. It's a ice cream parlor for those
Yeah,
who
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what that is. And then after that. Shortly after that, I ended up working as a loss prevention at Ross, like the security guard.
Okay, yeah,
Weird jobs. And then after that is when I ended up getting like my first job at the gym.
yeah. Okay, cool, cool. Now, was at what age? 20,
My first job
19,
at the
20?
gym, I was probably 20 years old. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
20.
was a sales advisor, so I was those like people who would call you on the phone like every day trying to sell you a membership.
Yeah, yeah.
It was so whack,
Hey, I
man.
saw that you visited 6.5 months ago and just wanted to see if you would want to sit down with one of our managers and go over a membership.
It was so whack, man. But you know what? It taught me like how to just not give a damn because I had to like go across the street to like a mall. We were at a 24-hour fitness right across the street from a mall, and
Okay.
the way you get leads is like you just have to go up and like talk to random people, and it's so embarrassing at first,
Yeah.
but like you have to make your money or else you like get fired. So I
Hmm.
learned how to just like go up to people and talk to them and like not care.
Have just willingly have open conversation, right?
Yep, I can't tell
Yeah.
you how many times I've been disrespected in my life. Just
Yeah.
like screw off.
Hey, you move on, right? I mean, you can't win them all. So
Yeah.
that's funny. And the business administration, did you stick with that in school?
Dude, not at all. And so you know what? I've actually never said this like in like a podcast or anything like that. But you know, it's so long ago. I don't even care, dude. I was like on and off with a community college for like maybe like 5 or 6 years because first I chose business administration, but I freaking hated it. And like I didn't know what I would do as like a career after that. So then I chose accounting because accounting was like the safest thing to like do and you could find a job like immediately after high school.
Anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and then after that is when I'm like, no, dude, I don't like any of this. Like, I like kinesiology, like I like fitness, but even with that, like when I did it, I was just like, wait, why am I going to like get my degree in this when I could get a certification and get like a job? And a lot of like, no, I mean, no disrespect to like kinesiology majors out there, but like a lot of like the classes that you take for kinesiology are just so bogus. Like, why do I have to take volleyball? Like, I'm trying to coach like powerlifters, you know, like I don't want to do a volleyball class, you know, like, and it's a part
Yeah.
like they make you take that for kinesiology. So rather than like doing that, man, like I just went and I got mentors, like I hired coaches, I went to like workshops, like I went out there and like I learned exactly what I wanted. But dude, I didn't learn everything that I learned about business. It came from just myself, not at all from any of the business classes that I took in
That you
college.
took. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, 'cause, yeah, if you had maybe stuck with that, it would make total sense as to how you kind of took your love and turned it into the business that you wanted to make a real life for yourself, right? Yeah.
Yeah, dude, but no, I didn't
But
learn anything in those classes. Like I don't remember. It was like a waste of time, probably.
experiential, just learning through life, learning through
Yeah.
coaches, mentors. That's the biggest thing. You got to be willing to invest in other people to learn from. And I think that's something that most people just aren't willing to do. They'd rather get a safe check and kind of go about whatever it is and do what they love after hours. And it just steers a lot of people in the wrong direction.
Yeah, man. And I don't even say this to brag, but just because I want people to like have like an idea. Me and my accountant, we did like we did the math for last year,
Mhm.
2020. I in like education and like mentors and stuff like that, workshops and like books, all that. We did the math. I think it was over like around 15 grand in just like that, and it's like one of the most important things. I think what ends up happening in a lot of people is that they get complacent and they think that, oh, just because I'm like now I have my career established, like I don't have to learn anymore. But the most successful people are the ones who are still trying to learn, and especially with like powerlifting and fitness, like we still have a lot of new data and new research coming
Mm.
out. Like it's moving very quickly. Like the state of powerlifting and fitness from just like even 3 years ago, it's like it's kind of completely brand new. So you have to stay on top of this if you want to like progress in the game.
Yeah, you constantly have to be learning. The complacency that you mentioned is just in and of itself, it's a safe haven for most people, thinking that time alone will give them more of what they're getting. But time has to be taken advantage of. If you just spend more time at a job, doesn't mean that you're making the most of that job or you're learning the most from the people that are above you. Because some people aren't meant to own a business necessarily and work for themselves, and they just don't have that personality. They'd rather follow somebody and, be the number 3 or the number 6 or the number, 50 in a big company and do just as well as someone who owns their own business. But the idea is that you have to constantly be asking questions. You have to constantly be learning and spending time with a purpose, not just allowing time to kind of pass by. So I like that. And that's awesome that you and your accountant sat down and kind of figured out, what am I spending on returning back information into myself that I can spit out to my clients, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The ability for you to do so definitely comes from your ability to run a business, right? So you're turning your love for powerlifting into ebooks, right? And into online programming, correct?
Yep.
So explain that to me a little bit. I'm sure when you first got into powerlifting and you were going, into the idea of getting a certification, you were learning more for yourself at that point. You were applying those things as you learned them, more and more and more to yourself, and probably didn't have the opportunity yet to share that information with clients at that point. So what made you kind of harp on the idea of going virtual with ebooks and with clients, from a virtual programming standpoint?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, very very good question, man. And this is exactly how it happened. And I think, and from what I've studied, this is kind of how it happens to a lot of like successful people. So for the first like 3 years of me personal training and coaching, I actually did it completely free. Like
Wow.
yeah, after about a year when I first started working out, I posted this like transformation photo of myself on Facebook. And that first year after like graduation, everybody gains like 15 pounds, the freshman 15. So all the people that I went to high school with were just like, dude, you need to like help me out. Like I need to lose weight. And I wanted to like, I love fitness. So I wanted to help people. And I'd never thought of like charging them because like I hadn't been certified or anything like that. So I just told people like, yo, dude, this is what I do. I don't know if it's gonna work. This is what I eat. Go ahead and try it out. And if you have any questions and stuff, just like message me. So it kind of became like what I do now, which is like online coaching. People would go to the gym, they'd record themselves and they send it back to me. I tell them do this. Hey, next week add this much weight. And after doing that for maybe like 3 years, I realized I had this like big portfolio of just like transformations of people that I helped. And it was my girlfriend at the time who was just like, dude, why don't you like start charging people for this? Like, you know a lot. Why don't you go get certified? Why don't you work at a gym? Like, you can do this. And that's when I was just like, ah, man, she kind of does have a point. And I was like, plus, it would be cool to like learn more about this and get certified because that'll kind of give me a goal. So that's kind of how I ended up transitioning into starting my business. I got certified, worked at a gym, built up my clientele, and I decided to go private.
Nice. Now, my question that I always have for powerlifters is, when you first started learning about, the nuances of fitness, did it like backhand you in the face that your pure strength lifts are called power lifts and that your Olympic lifts are does that mess with you, that powerlifting is for non-powerful movements like a squat, a bench, and a deadlift?
You know what's funny is that people always confuse powerlifting with Olympic lifting. It's like
Yes.
one of the most like common things. At this point, it's like whatever. It's been like I don't really think about that now. So it doesn't really like boggle my mind, but that's just like the most common thing with like powerlifters and Olympic lifters. People like confuse the two all the
The,
time.
confuse the crap out of them. I remember just like understanding, in college and learning the difference between the two. And I was like, they're not power movements. Why are they called powerlifting? Why is it called powerlifting? It doesn't make any sense. So that's just always something that I talk about. I don't know. It
Yeah.
always boggled me. Never made sense to me. But in terms of understanding kind of how you took that willingness to work for free for a lot of people, I think what a lot of people suffer from is the worry of, okay, well, yeah, it's cool. I've heard a lot of people say they work for free as well, but like financially, how did you have a place to live? How did you pay for food? Like, what did you do in order to actually be able to do that for free? Because it sounds all high and mighty, and most people would probably do the same, but they actually have bills to pay and a roof to have over their head. Or so paint that picture. Were you working, doing something else? Were you completely living minimalistic as possible? Like what did you have to sacrifice in order to do that?
Dude, yeah, thank you for asking that too, because you're right. Like, I hear a lot of people say that, but they never like say, "Hey, I used to work for free, and that's how I got here." But they never actually explain
Mm-hmm.
it. So yeah, I'm super happy to explain that. So for the first like 2 years of doing that, like I said, I worked a regular job. I worked at Cold Stone.
Mm-hmm.
It was minimum wage at the time in California. It was like 2013, 2012, 2013. So it was only $8 an hour plus tips. It sucked. I would have to sing for tips. For those of you who don't know, when you tip at Cold Stone, they have to sing. It was freaking embarrassing, but I would do it. I would sing my heart out because sometimes people would tip twice if you sang really well. So
That's funny.
yeah,
And it,
so
it probably just brought a good laugh and smile to most people's face, right?
it did. I hated it so much. But yeah, so dude, yeah, I lived with my parents for like a really long time. Like I just barely moved out. I'm 27. I moved out a year ago when I was like 26. So from 18 to 26, I was living with my parents in like a really small house, saving up as much as possible, and very minimalistic. I even when I turned 21, like I didn't even go out to like bars and drinking until I was probably like 22 or 23. I didn't go to like my first concert till I was like 20, and then didn't go on my very first vacation until age like 24. So super minimalistic, man. And I was on it, it wasn't even hard. Like it was a sacrifice, like in hindsight looking back at it, but in the moment, like it felt okay because like I loved fitness so much. And yeah, I didn't really need much. To me, as long as like I could go out on the weekends and like go to like a restaurant with like my buddies, like to Buffalo Wild Wings, like to me, like that was enough. Like I was living it up and I was happy. So yeah, I mean, the way that I kind of describe it is like you can get to your goals as quickly as possible. The more you sacrifice, like you can get there very quickly. You'd have to sacrifice and you'd have to live minimalistic, or you can choose to be very patient and party it up along the way. But it's going to take you even longer. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So that's just the way of kind of thinking about it for people who want to do that. So yeah, very minimalistic. Saved up a lot of money.
Cool. Yeah. And I think a lot of people like hearing that. Like that makes it sound doable for most people. And in 2020 hindsight, there's always something that you can give up. Or people like, I don't have money for that. Well, like the 12 pairs of shoes in your closet definitely would add up if you sold them all, and you'd have way more than enough money to buy whatever it is you were needing or wanting if you were
Yeah.
willing to sacrifice your shoes, right?
Yeah, dude. And if anybody goes on my Instagram and like scrolls all the way down, like from when I first started my page, you'll have to scroll down a lot because I post a lot. But from year 2013 to like 2016, you will see me working out in like Angry Birds pajamas at the gym. Like I didn't have money for like cool like Gymshark sweatpants and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
compression pants. Like I wore pajamas that I bought at Ross for like $10 for like 3 years.
yeah. That's actually hilarious. Because now the big thing is you just, especially for a lot of like fitness females, right? It's like if you can wear a good outfit and post a good picture, then like the workout doesn't even seem to be what anyone's looking for from your page. Like that's not the value you're providing whatsoever. Um, and it's funny you say that. I had uh, I mean, I'm looking at a pair of pants like that I've had since high school that I ended up cutting just to like wear as shorts now. So like I get you on that end. the ability to sacrifice is the ability to get where you want to be faster, without a doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so your transition took a lot of sacrifice, and I kind of want to know more so now of what exactly you offer and how you go about it, because there's also a lot of people wondering, like, okay, like in what format, and like how do you systemize someone just like sending you videos and asking for questions? Like how do you duplicate that and make a sales pitch to someone else who may be asking? How do you market the fact that when it comes down to business, you need to have marketing, you need to have a sales pitch, and then you need to be able to provide that in a duplicatable form, right? So you said you have people asking you these things and sending you this and that. How do you put it all together? Because that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing for business owners, especially in the fitness world.
Yeah, so I have like two primary like coaching packages. I have an in-person personal training and then
Mm-hmm.
a online coaching. So for the in-person training, I recommend that for like a lot. Obviously, you have to live it like where I live, but that's usually works really well for like beginners, like noobs, like people who like need attention, like
Hands on,
yeah,
right?
hands-on. For
Mm-hmm.
like the intermediate and advanced people, for them to do online coaching, it's fairly easy because they already kind of have like a good foundation. It's like they're not gonna like get injured. Their form is competent enough. So me sending them videos and stuff like that, it's pretty much like for the last 5%. A lot of my online clients are like those intermediate people who are trying to get to the advanced level. And anybody who's probably like looked for like an online coach, they know that a lot of online coaches, they they don't provide like their phone number because like if they would just get their phone blown up all the time.
Yeah.
So a lot of coaches they just do email,
Mm-hmm.
and that doesn't really work with a lot of people. So what I do is my packages probably are a slightly like price wise, it is probably a little higher than like the average online coach, but you get like almost like 24/7 communication, except
Mm-hmm.
for obviously I don't respond when I'm sleeping or with clients, but that's like super valuable. I feel like that's super valuable because even me, I've worked with a lot of different coaches. And in the beginning, I used to spend very little to like try to get like the coaches who I can work with, but I probably don't have access to talk to them all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
then I've paid a little extra so that I can be able to like text them on like a day-to-day basis. And I always see better results with people that with like that. So me explaining that to them, they're always like up for it. It's virtual and stuff like that. They don't mind it. And I have a really good system in order for them to like educate themselves and like make sure that they will be successful. I have this training app, and on the training app, I have a lot of videos of me explaining how to do certain exercises. So when they're on their own, they don't feel like they're on their own. Like I'm like right there showing them
There's
how to do the
videos
exercise.
that they're opening up. They're watching you. They're hearing your voice. That kind of thing. It's personal in a sense.
Exactly.
Do
Yep.
you
And then
use
in the
do you
first,
use
oh, go
like
ahead.
do you use like True Fit Coach, or do you use like Trainerize, or do you have your
Trainer.
own
Yep, trainer.
Trainerize?
Yeah,
Train.
and just to provide more like content for my clients, I have this private Facebook group page,
Mm,
and uh, where I post like all of my exclusive content, like so many dang videos. I probably have like 300 videos, and like they're all like well categorized with like training, nutrition, supplementation. So like whenever people usually have questions and stuff like that, I've already made a video on it. Like I'll just like copy the link and then send it to them, and they'll get like a 10-minute video like answering their questions. So like people like for sure are always staying educated, and they're learning, and so they feel very confident going into the gym.
that's awesome, man. And uh, I gotta ask. So have you hired or not necessarily hired, but invested in someone else who was doing this before to kind of get paint a picture? Like, I know when I was in high school and college, I was always watching like people who were doing this, right? And then were offering their like master coach services, and like picture like a Brandon Carter, right? Like everyone kind of knows that name, right? The Keto King or whatever his name is on Instagram. Did you ever hire anybody like that, or did you ever invest in like a coach like that in order to kind of learn how to maneuver your way around, or no?
For sure, and like I still do to this day. To this day, I have a coach. The way that I first got introduced to like online coaching and personal training was from like early YouTube videos of people that I used to follow who had online coaching. Like some of
Mhm.
the early people that I followed on like YouTube, they probably had like some of the very first like online coaches. So like a lot of people don't know this. One of like the original online coaches was a guy named Lane Norton. So I used to watch a lot of his videos, and he would go in and like talk about how he ran his services and stuff. And then shortly after that is when I hired a coach. I saw he did things. He did things that I really liked that I still implement to this day. There was things that I didn't like that I ended up implementing.
Mhm.
Then after that, I worked with several other coaches just to see how they do it. I still have a coach, like I said. And then I also hired business mentors. So shout out to Chris and Eric Martinez. They're my current business mentors, and they
Mhm.
have been for about 2 years. I think. Have you done a podcast with them?
I have,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm.
For
And
sure.
they're super intelligent. They were online coaches themselves. They worked with Lane Norton. They worked with Eric Helms, who is another one of like the original like founding fathers of online coaching.
Mhm.
And yeah, so we've all like kind of bounced ideas around with each other and stuff like that. We've all like figured out what is like probably the best system to like give people results.
That's awesome, dude. Their ebook is great for helping fit pros kind of work on that hybrid model, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense now. Now it's things are clicking.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense. So in terms of your growth, right? So if you could maybe paint a picture on your ROI necessarily of like, you know, when you started and where you are now, if you had to put a percentage of growth kind of in between your last maybe 2 to 4 years of being an online coach and implementing some of this stuff, um, since maybe 2016, what would you say that growth has been from like a number standpoint, and what do you think is the number one factor that's made that happen?
Yeah, Dan, that's a good question too. So, if you would have told me that right now this is where I would have been at when I was at 2016, I would have been like, dude, that's awesome. Like, that's the dream. Like, I've
That's the goal,
made
right?
made it. But like now that I'm here and I see like the opportunity and like how much more growth there is, dude, I feel like I'm like barely starting. I'm barely scratching the surface.
Mhm.
Like, we live in the perfect day and age where like, dude, it's limitless. Like
Yeah,
it's
yes,
dude
sir.
so much like growth. There's so much dang potential. Like I've seen how some people have like where they've taken it, and it's like, dude, it's barely still starting. And yeah, dude. So I don't even know. Like I said, I feel like I'm barely scratching the surface with all of this. To just kind of like I guess give some examples. In 2016, I was working at a commercial gym, and every like month was always like a struggle to get like new clients. And now like I'm at the stage where like I don't have to go out there and look for clients. Like a lot of clients find me, and I'm really just trying to see like what's the next level that I can take into. So for me, like hopefully that soon will be probably opening up a gym, um, maybe like getting like a clothing company type like situation, and starting to work with more international people and working with bigger names. So like a lot of my clients right now, now we've been working for like a while where they're starting to like get into like the elite numbers of powerlifting. My name is starting to get out there. So with more clients that I turn into elite and like state and national record holders, more of those up and coming people who are going to be big names in the sport will start hopefully hiring me. And that's where I kind of see just things going like in the next like year for me.
That's awesome, dude. And that I love that you said in the next year too, not like in the next like couple years or like 5 years out. You said no, in the next year, and you're kind of bringing that and talking it into existence. I like that. Now, you're you're obviously seeing a big influx and transition of people into online training, right? Like we're at the peak of it in a sense that it's ever been because of the fact that especially in California, so many things are closed and have been for like a year. Someone had came from LA to our gym here last week, and she was like, I haven't been in a gym in over a year. She's like, this is the first time I've been in. So I've just been doing like stuff on the app or whatever. So your firsthand kind of insight and experience with COVID and how that helped your business.
Yeah, good, cool, dude. That's a good question too, because a lot of people I've been asked this question before, but a lot of people think like, oh, my business took a hit, but nah, man. Like COVID actually helped out my business. I want to answer this question in one of two ways. First, I'll talk about like how kind of like I saw COVID affected like fitness in general, and then I'll talk about how it helped my business. So in terms of fitness, I thought that like as soon as powerlifting meets open back up again, I thought like it was gonna be really weak. I was just like, dude, everybody's gonna get like super weak. I was like, this is my chance to like step up and like climb up in the rankings. But what happened was like the people who really weren't like that serious, who were kind of like on the border of it, dude, they just like fell off completely.
Mm-hmm.
But like the people who were at the top, like, dude, they climbed even higher to like higher stages. So I didn't think that that would happen. I thought that more people were going to fall off, and I thought the people who were kind of strong, I thought a lot of them were going to lose strength. But then I took it as like, yo, this is my time to like rise up, and
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly how a lot of other people thought. So, dude, people are really strong. People are stronger than ever. Like the since COVID opened up, I think I've been sorry since powerlifting meets opened back up, which was, I think probably back in like August. Yeah, in August was like our first powerlifting meet back. Since then, I've been to like six competitions, and each one of those competitions, people have broken state or national records.
Wow.
So yeah, dude, like every single meet in like guys, girls, 20-year-olds, 60-year-olds. It's crazy, man. So people are getting stronger and people are not slowing down. Now, in terms of how it helped out my business, since so many gyms closed down around here, and people knew what was going to happen. People knew that, hey, if I can't go to the gym, I'm going to gain weight. And
Mm-hmm.
like if I'm staying at home all day and just ordering Postmates, like I'm going to gain weight. People weren't blind to that. So people knew that this was also the time for them to like step up and take their fitness more serious. So I think a lot of people were kind of lost and afraid and like just didn't know what to do. So that's when people were like looking for someone to help like lead them and guide them. And since I did at first have a lot more free time, I took it as like an opportunity to like post more content, be the face of like the people in my area that's gonna help everyone get through this, lose weight, get stronger. It doesn't matter if you don't have any gym equipment. It doesn't matter if you're like have like 5 or 10 pound dumbbells. Like I posted so much damn content for like people in all different types of situations. So when people finally did get back to like being able to work at like a steady pace for their job, a lot of them had already seen me from like the months of providing content, and a lot of them ended up reaching out to me for coaching. So
That's
yeah, it
awesome.
ended up working out really well for me.
That's huge. And I think it speaks to the power of having an online, you know, business and just multiple sources of income, right? And it's something that most people find themselves pigeonholed with, but our field is massive. It's great for it. And in terms of you teaching and having so many clients and people seeking you out, what is your ideal client? Do you only work with powerlifters, or do you work with, your average Joe, your general population, young athletes that are playing specific sports? Kind of paint that picture for people who might be wondering what you're looking for in a client.
Yeah, it's definitely changed a little bit with like time, and it's like as my career has grown. But I still like working with like people who are new to fitness, and like they want to lose weight, they just want to get in shape. I love working with those people, because the people who like don't really know much about fitness, a lot of them are always like open, and they're open to like learning, and they're easily coachable, as opposed to like sometimes like intermediate and advanced people, like they kind of have like their set way of thinking. It's kind of hard to like try to transition them into something new. So I still like working with those. uh and then I also love powerlifting, so I coach a lot of powerlifters, people who are um, new to the sport, people who are like probably been competing, or even people who are already really strong and probably like at the top of their weight class. I'd say now it's probably about like 50-50.
Oh,
Before it was maybe like 80% of weight loss general population and like 20% powerlifters. It's gotten to the point now where it's like 50-50, and I really like this balance because being able to like train new people, those are like kind of the best people to really get to like the next level because they get
mhm.
noob gains. Like I've had some clients who have never touched the bar before, and then like in 5 months I can take them to like a 315 squat like that. And dude, that's like awesome because like it's hard to do that for somebody who's already probably been lifting like 5-6 years.
Yeah, no, it's you see that immediate response by the body, that central nervous system, the muscles in general, everything just responds so much better.
Yeah.
Totally see that. In terms of your clientele and w- especially those people that are new to fitness, what is your major staple for kind of like exercise assessment? Like how do you paint a picture of like what this person is capable of and what they need to focus on?
Yeah, good question too. So, right in our very first like meeting that I have with clients, I have them just go through like a simple assessment, like body weight squats, lunges. I'll have them do like some type of upper body exercise and then like a core exercise. I want to really see just like how they move and like how they're breathing and stuff like that, and like how tired they get. You could always see like by like the look in people's eyes, like if they're dying inside or not.
Mm.
And from there is usually where I can like tell like, hey, this is how this person is going to be able to progress. This is probably like in my mind I start like seeing like where they're probably kind of like their genetic potential would be at. Obviously, sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes like people will freaking surprise me and they'll just like transform like crazy. But yeah, I've been working with people for a long time now where after like a 10-minute consultation, I could pretty much like know exactly what kind of like program to like give
They
them and
need.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for your overall, experience, from your overall experience, I should say, do you find people struggle the most with a squat or a deadlift? Basically, a knee bend or a hip hinge?
Ooh, yeah. That depends. There's some people who are just they just have like the perfect biomechanics and leverages for a squat, and they're just like made for it. Like it's like they just sit down in the hole like with like effortless. I think I see more of that than people who are just great at deadlifts. Yeah, they're because like if you think about it, like a lot of us have been like there's if you were to like Google baby squat like as babies, like there's some babies who have like perfect squat form.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
Most
that's
of us come
probably
out of
like
the womb with that ability. We just lose it over time. Yeah.
exactly. So I think deadlift is probably the one that is a little harder for people to learn.
Yeah, no, I would agree. It's weird comprehension, but if learned, I think it's the best exercise for strength, in my opinion. Um, just overall, the ability to train that posterior half is massive, and I think most people lack it.
Dude, it
Um,
builds the most confidence too. Like
oh yeah,
with the people, the clients that I've had who like when they hit a squat PR, they're really happy. But when like I see people who hit like a deadlift PR, like it's a whole different like feeling that they have. So I love teaching the deadlift. That's my favorite exercise of the big three
cool,
is deadlift.
nice. We're on the same page there. That's awesome. Are you a big advocate for hex bar? Are you a hex bar fan?
I think
For
just
squat?
like with any exercise, it always just kind of depends like in the situation and the context in which it's useful. So for the hex bar for a lot of my powerlifter clients, we don't really use it too much unless it's in like the off season. Just
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a big proponent of the rule of specificity. So if we use a Texas deadlift bar, which is like a 45-pound bar, it's a little bit longer than like a regular standard bar. It's thinner. If that's the one that we use to compete in, that's the one that I want people to like practice the most on. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the off season, we don't have like any powerlifting meets like in the near future, yeah, like I think that's like a really good time to throw the hex bar in. Now, in terms of like my non-powerlifter clients, yeah, I like having them use that, especially for people who probably want a little bit more quad development and people uh, who sometimes kind of get like a little bit of lower back pain from like regular deadlifts. I find that the hex bar allows people to get a lot of like that pulling volume in without like straining their lower back so much.
Yeah, not as much of a compressive load for sure.
Hmm.
Now, who are your gurus? Who are your people that you pay attention to, not from a business standpoint, but from a powerlifting standpoint? Who are some of the names that you might be able to throw out?
Yeah, it changes a lot. Like, but currently, I would say it's Bryce Lewis. He was one of my powerlifting coaches. He's one of those people that is still trying to progress, like his mind up here, not just like his physical.
Mhm.
Always putting out like good content and not just fitness content, like powerlifting content, but also like psychology and like the psychology of like an athlete in sports. So yeah, he's a really good follow. He's always been at the top for of my list. Number two is Sean Noriega. He is one like I think number two, 83 kilogram lifter. Very very nuanced, very intelligent guy. And what I really enjoy about him is that he has like the perfect balance between like that bro where you're just like all out like mentality of push yourself, but he's also very scientific. Sometimes I feel like we have people who are a little too scientific that they forget that like, hey, at the end of the day you have to push yourself and you have to go in the gym.
Mhm.
And there's also some people who are just like too scientific where like they completely forget about like going in the gym and like pushing themselves. You know, I like having the balance of both. Sean Noriega, he's really good at that. Number three is another guy named Chance Mitchell. What I really like about him is that he's very passionate about the sport, and he's one of the few people who I feel like has like a voice in powerlifting who's trying to like get this sport to like the next level, like maybe in the Olympics, maybe like on ESPN. And yeah, like I said, I really love passionate people. So yeah, Chance Mitchell. Another one is Eric Helms. He has always also been at the top of my list. Eric Helms has multiple like degrees. He has like a PhD in like training. He has like a master's degree in nutrition. He is up there, dude. And that if you follow Eric Helms and you read all his books, I feel like you will be successful to a certain extent in your fitness journey.
Mhm.
And then last but not least, I would say it is Lane Norton. I mentioned him earlier. Like I said, he was like one of the founding fathers of online coaching. He's super passionate. He was a power lifter. He was a bodybuilder. He's a doctor. Like he has his PhD in protein. So like this dude is super smart. So like those are the top people that I like to follow. And like one thing that all of them have that's like kind of like consistent is that they have like a scientific background, but they also know that you have to go in the gym and you have to go like balls out every time you're in there.
Mhm. Interesting. Now, from a protein perspective, what rule of thumb do you follow personally?
Yeah, so I like to follow like the the studies where they've been very controlled and very specific to kind of like how most people live their daily life because there's a lot of studies about protein out there where they're they don't like the application of it wouldn't really apply to like the average person. But my rule of thumb is anywhere from like zero point 0.8 to 1.2 grams of body weight. So if you're about 170 pounds, I think that's like minimum like 135 to like 190 grams of protein. That seems to be like the sweet spot for like resistance trained athletes who are like intermediate to advanced level that are trying to get to the next level. And that would fall you would probably end up wanting to distribute that between like 3 and 5 servings per day. That's not more important than just getting in your daily protein intake.
Mhm.
But yeah, according to a lot of the stronger studies that I've seen, that's the best in terms of building muscle. Now in terms of just being healthy and just like like being able to build a little bit of muscle, you really only need about 40 grams of protein a day to survive.
Mhm.
About 100 grams of protein if you want to see some results. If you want to get like slightly quicker results, you're going to want to probably go to like that higher end of like 1.2
120,
grams. Yeah.
Now, in terms of strongman competitions, and there's some like aspects, right, where people are like, well, strongman competition different than powerlifting, and it is because there's obviously major focuses in either one. Do you ever find yourself like paying attention to those and kind of just learning from those guys in any way?
Yeah, at the gym that I train at, there's like our group of strongman people, and we do have a lot of like competition for strongman. There's definitely a lot of similarities, really. Like a lot of studies that we have on fitness, they all kind of like derive from weightlifting, but a lot of like the same principles of programming, like they can be applied to like really like any weight training sport. Like they're still having progressive overload. They're training at a high frequency, high specificity. They're doing their deload weeks. They're doing like their peaking phases, and then like trying to get like a super compensation effect for a competition. And one thing's for sure, man, is a lot of those guys are super intense, and that, like I said, I think that's something that kind of gets like forgotten. Is like, sure, you got to know the science, you got to have the foundation of like how the body works and stuff like that, but you have to go in the gym, you have to push it, and like those guys are really intense. So I like
Right.
seeing them train in the gym; they're pretty dope.
No, that's a good point. It just brings out a different level of you, right? Not necessarily from like looking at it and being like, oh, screw you, I'm gonna lift more, but looking at it and just being like, damn, that guy's giving, 99% of what he's got, and I'm over here giving, 86. It's like, why not push it a little bit more? Why not give a little bit more effort and just have a little bit more passion? I feel that. It's definitely
Yeah, dude, at the end of the day, I feel like the people who are gonna make like the most gains, like they have to do it for something bigger other than just like, oh, I'm just trying to do this to be healthy and like have a hobby. Like the people who are gonna have the best bodies and the best strength, like the best athletes are like the ones who are training like athletes, the people,
Mhm.
maybe even like maybe you're not competing, but you're doing this because your body is your brand, and like you're doing that to like for your business and stuff like that. It has to be something bigger than just like, oh yeah, I just want to do this so like my joints don't hurt when I get older or whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, just so I can lift big things, in my house.
Yeah.
It's got to be bigger. It's got to have a deep wrenching kind of meaning to the heart for sure. With a lot of um, power lifters and a lot of bodybuilders and those strong men, longevity from a healthy, long life standpoint, and also from a joint standpoint, seems to be something that a lot of people are worried about.
Mhm.
Where do you stand on that topic? How do you talk to people who may ask you that question about that?
Yeah, dude, by the way, man, you're asking amazing questions. I
Thank
love it.
you.
Like these are really good questions. So yeah, props to you for that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, so according to studies, like weight training like sports, bodybuilding, strongman and weightlifting, powerlifting, in comparison to like other sports per like 1,000 hours, we actually have some of the lowest amount of injuries.
Mm,
Like if you think about it, like compare it to like football players who like NFL players who have like CTE, or like that their careers end like before they even hit 30. Like like I mentioned earlier, I've been to powerlifting meets where there's like 70-year-olds who are competing and
mm,
setting state records. Like the cool thing about powerlifting is that we have really long careers. Now that's in terms of like the drug tested side. In terms of like the non-drug tested side and the people who are like using performance enhancements, uh,
mhm.
it seems like their careers are a little shorter. But like I said, if you're staying natural and drug free, it seems like our your career can be very long, because also there's like the factors and like the variables that we have in our sports. It's a lot easier to control as opposed to like basketball. Like you can't control somebody elbowing you in the face, but
Yeah.
with the powerlifting, the squat, bench, and deadlift, we get so good at those movements. Like we get super efficient because that's all we do. The chances of injury are like very, very unlikely. So
Mm.
if you're out there and you want to get into these sports and you're worried about getting injured, dude, there's nothing to worry about. Like the odds are in our favor.
Hugely insightful. I like that perspective. Most team sports are far more dangerous and unpredictable, and I definitely know that from from experience of playing football, basketball, and baseball, you definitely can't see some things coming, right?
Yeah.
Now, in terms of most people, also have the worry that like you're gonna put on a bunch of muscle, but if you stop at any point, you're really gonna kind of gain weight, right? Like that muscle is gonna become flabby is the word that the general population would
Yeah.
use. So how do people, especially ones that you're looking up to, someone that's an OG like Elaine Norton, right? Like how do you manage your natural aging process in maintaining muscle, keeping a certain amount of body fat and a certain aesthetic to a certain, to that degree?
Yeah, dude, good question. And I like that you asked it too, because we just had like a study like not too long ago that just came out on that, like kind of like disproving that, and that's a myth, that as you get older, like
Mm.
that you're less likely to put on muscle. Like in this study that just came out, it showed that like if you compare like a 40-year-old to a 20-year-old, like the amounts of muscle that they could build, it's actually really similar. And in fact, like if you look at a lot of the best natural bodybuilders, like the average age is like age 40 to 50. Now that's not to say that like obviously you probably are going to have a little bit more energy and stuff like that when you're younger,
Yeah.
but
Better recovery, right? Things.
yeah, better recovery for sure. So, but I don't think that necessarily is so much physiological as it is more of like what ends up happening as you get older. You start having more responsibilities. People get married, they have kids, so you're able to your chances of getting stressed are a lot higher, and I think that is the ultimate killer of gains. I think if you can manage stress, like you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be able to stay lean. You're gonna be able to build a lot of muscle. So the number one thing that I've found that has helped with that is sleep, like getting a lot of sleep. I try to get always like 8.5 hours of sleep. Like it's rare if I'll get 7 hours of sleep. Like 6 hours of sleep, like I would not let that happen. Like 5 6 hours of sleep. If I have only can get 5 or 6 hours of sleep, like I'm canceling appointments in the morning so I can
Mm.
get those extra hours of sleep. That's super important. And there's this really good book. It's called Why We Sleep. If ever anybody goes out there and reads that, you'll see that like almost anything bad can be linked to like bad sleep.
Lack
So
of rest.
lack of sleep, yes. So if you get your sleep on point, dude, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be able to have like a long career.
I like that. Are you a nap fan? Do you recommend and take naps?
Yeah. I recommend it, and I do take it. So yeah, according to studies, um, in like the short term, if you lose sleep, you can make up for those effects of it by taking a nap. In the short term, you can't be like getting 4 hours of sleep and then making up for it with like 4 hours of napping. But like,
Yeah.
if, let's say you got 7 hours of sleep and then you want to take like an hour nap to get like those 8 hours, yeah, that can work. And I do like doing it. I nap almost every day.
That's
Mm.
cool. I'm a big power nap guy. Like I'm a big believer that like your ability to just get your heart rate down, turn your consciousness off, is huge for regulating your body's hormonal kind of distribution and homeostasis. Like I'm big on that, and I feel so much better after maybe a night where I didn't rest well, and I wake up and I have early clients and I do this and I do that. If I take 15 minutes and I go even like lay in my car and put on some, little meditation music, and for the first maybe 6 minutes, I'm sitting there and I know I'm not falling asleep, but it happens. And those 4 minutes of like complete no conscious thought, I wake up refreshed. I don't. It's been huge for me. Something that I fell away from for a while, and I got back into it. But through college, that saved me, man. That saved me.
Yeah. Dude, we actually, and we have a lot of data on that. I know there's a lot of people out there who are probably listening to this and are probably thinking like, oh, every time I nap, like I wake up feeling like more exhausted.
Mhm.
Uh, if that's the case, what I recommend for people is like what you just said, like just meditate and like get your heart rate down. And we
Mhm.
have science to prove that you just even if you just do this for literally like as short as like a minute, like
Mhm.
that helps improve your recovery a lot.
Yeah.
I've noticed the best effects from meditation when it's at least 15 minutes. So yeah, if you're one of those people that can't get in a long nap or you feel worse after you take a nap, I'd say like 15 minutes of meditation, and you'll see like tremendous results.
True, true. And do you use a specific like app or anything in particular to help you meditate, or do you listen to sounds or guided meditations or anything?
Yeah, I do. I do one of three things. Number one is I just put on guided meditations.
Mhm.
Number two, and not from an app, just from like YouTube.
Okay.
Number two is I'll put on like soft instrumentals of like meditation type music. And the third thing that I do is I bought Dr. Joe Dispenza. Are you familiar with Dr.
Yeah,
Joe Dispenza?
hell yeah.
Yeah, I bought his like they're on Audible. It's like his hour long like meditations on like a bunch of different things where he just kind of it's pretty much like a guided meditation. But his are really good, man. Those are like really powerful meditations. Highly recommend people like check out Dispenza's work.
Yeah, and if I'm not sure if you're familiar with Gaia, it's basically like a conscious Netflix. Basically, it's a streaming platform for all sorts of conscious movies and meditation and yoga and documentaries, all of these different things. You pay a monthly subscription, pay $9.99 a month, and Dr. Joe Dispenza, most of his he's like the biggest guy on there. He's got a bunch of work on there. There's tons and tons of good stuff. He offers a lot of cool courses and like different series on things. So that's something you can look into as well. You
Yeah,
might
dude.
you
Yeah,
might dig
I
that.
will. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza, man.
Yeah.
Like his books have like helped change my life. Like if I had to throw a name that's helped me out a lot, that's a non like powerlifter or fitness person, it's him. He's definitely up there in like the top five.
That's huge. Now, speaking of non-powerlifting, name one piece of fitness equipment that you love and you utilize a lot, maybe your favorite that is not a barbell.
Dang, that's a good question. I would say it's the belt squat. Sometimes it's known as a shark pit squat. Are you familiar with it?
No, I don't think so.
So yeah, it's rare. So a lot of people actually don't know about it. So it's like this machine where there's like weight on the side, and then you throw on a belt, and then you clip it to like this handle, and then you stand fully, and then you move out these like this handle that's kind of holding on to the weight, and essentially you're doing like the closest thing to like a free weight squat without having the weight on your spine. So it's
Interesting.
really good on the lower back. There's like no compression on your spine, and it's all quadriceps, and there's no weight on your shoulders. It's just you like
And you're
having
not
weight pull you
holding
down.
the weight either?
Nope, you're not holding the weight. You're just holding
Just
on
the
to this
belt.
like handle for balance. Yeah, it's called the shark pit squat or a belt squat if people look it up online. And dude, this machine is awesome. I actually even me as a powerlifter, I love the regular squat. I would actually go as far as saying that if you're not a powerlifter and your goal is just to build like the biggest legs possible, I think this machine is better than a regular back squat because of the fact that it's not on your back, it's not on your shoulders. Like the chances of injury are really low, and you could overload it. It's pretty much close to like free weight. Like you're still able to move your legs and your knees in like a way that you want, and it just feels super natural. It's awesome, man. And I think it's also one of the best like supplemental exercises for to get your squat and your deadlift stronger. So yeah, dude, that's number one. It's
Cool.
awesome.
I like that. I'll have to take a look. I'll peek. Maybe I've seen it before in certain gyms. I've been to tons of different gyms, but maybe I just didn't know the name of it. Who knows?
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, I like to, like I said, kind of surprise my guests at the end here and kind of flip the script, see if you have any questions for me.
Oh, dude, yeah, man. How'd you come up with the name of your podcast?
So LT360. I'll start with the brand myself. So my senior year of college, uh, going into that that first semester, my good friend, the first podcast guest I ever had, Chris Capon, we were basketball teammates in high school. He had started a vert program for kids who were playing basketball. Long story short, he ends up asking me I had started my master's in nutrition at that point, and he was asking me to put together some sort of ebook or program some informational source of some sort for his athletes that he had. He had people all over the world using his vertical jumping program to increase their vertical jump, whether it was for football or track or basketball or whatever it may be. So he said, get that together and then, come up with a brand, come up with something that can, fuel it. So I'm a big fan of, you probably know the podcast Impact Theory.
Yep.
With Tom Bilyeu, right? So that was big. I was listening to that all the time, and I had recently watched the movie Limitless, right? And the show Limitless, and
Yes.
just so many things were circulating in my head, and I was trying to figure out, like, what would I name this? And my thought came to the fact that, like, I'm big on efficiency. Everything I do is efficiency. And, when you're efficient, like when what's his name takes the pill in that movie, right? Like, you have full access to everything, and everything he does, he steps ahead. He knows what he's doing. He's planning, he's efficient, he's clean, he's this, he's that. And that's kind of how I envisioned myself, like just trying to be and striving for. So the theory behind being limitless is that it comes down to efficiency, and it comes down to really perfecting these three parts of your life: your financial and economic side, your physical side, and your nutritional side. So those are the three things that I wanted to help people with and that I was mastering at the point. So it turned into Limitless Theory. And the idea was, what are we made of? What is our frequency? How do we vibrate? How do we stay alive? Is our heartbeat. So I integrated the L and the T into the heartbeat to make it kind of look seamless. And then the podcast I wanted it to be holistic. I wanted it to be on everything. So the LT360, kind of, like a circle, encapsulating everything that is Limitless Theory, kind of came to life, and sharing other people's stories who are trying to do the same thing.
That's dope. Yeah, and I have another question that's going to lead me into another question. Have you
Sweet.
read the book Limitless also by Jim
I
Cook?
haven't read the book. No.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good book too to read.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably like halfway done with it, and what I really like about it is that he pretty much just talks about like how to get better at learning, because people don't really know like people don't know how to learn. Like, people have always been taught to learn, but they don't really know like the skills on how to. So yeah, you probably really like that book a lot. So yeah, my last question for you is what is like one book that you would say has helped you out a lot, like in your career or life, fitness, whatever?
I would say the biggest book that always pops in my head, man, is The Power of Habit
Oh yes, I
by
read it.
Charles
Have it.
Duhigg. Yeah, man. It's one that I've never forgotten. I don't think I ever will. I was reading it at such a crucial point in my life, and the way it translated, and you talk about like learning, when you can learn what you're doing and why, and then unlearn those habits to create better ones,
Yeah.
your potential, in my opinion, once again, it's just like it's limitless. There's no cap to your ability to grow if you can continue to learn and learn and learn, whether it's learning what you're already doing or learning more about what you want to do and how to implement that. I think you hit it right on the head, or in explaining, that book Limitless. Like, there's I look at ours as nervous system, and that's what you're training as a power lifter, right? You're not necessarily training for hypertrophy. You're training for your nervous system to be able to be comfortable under that certain amount of duress, whatever that weight is, right?
Yep.
Whatever that stress is. So just learning in its best form is your nervous system getting adapted to all of its stimuli and everything around it, and then being able to make an efficient decision, or be able to handle those stresses efficiently, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever it may be. You just get better at dealing with the stress in general, right? So that's your body just learning to adapt to your environment, internal or external. So that's, yeah, I would say the power of habit was the biggest thing, because it started to just get me on the idea of like, all right, make my bed. All right, like put on, writing things down before I go to bed, so my mind is not holding on to those ideas. Putting what's it called, meditation music on and yoga nidra before I go to bed. Like those little things just started to all click for me. Like, that's why people say to do this, and that's why it's helpful. And I started to implement so many of those things, and it started to help in just a major way. And I think it's a good starting point for a lot of people.
Yes, dude, exactly. Whenever people ask me about like what are the like books that I read or like what are the books that I recommend, I always tell people to like restart. Like if you're somebody who's like just barely starting to try to get into like the self development, like self help book world, I start them off with like these three first books in order. Number one is The Slight Edge, very similar to the Power of Habit. The number two is The Power of Habit, and then number three, I tell them to go to Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. So those are like I always tell them read it in like that order. I think it's like the perfect way to like start like your this new journey of your life.
That's cool, man. That's huge. That's super insightful. I'm gonna add Limitless. You said the slight the
The
slight
Slight
edge,
Edge.
and what was the Dispenza one?
Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Natural by Joe Dispenza. Cool. I'm definitely gonna look into that.
Yep.
Man, I appreciate those questions. Those are good. Those are good.
Oh man,
So where can people find you? Where can people reach out to you? How can people learn more, and get as much from you as possible?
yeah. So people can find me on my Instagram. It's the_chosen Juan 1. It's where I post like everything, all my different types of content. If people want to download one of my ebooks, it's called Eating Out While Dieting, which pretty much teaches people how to go to like their favorite restaurants, how to live a social life, and be able to see results. They can go to my website. It's juansalgadotrainer.com, and on there they can download the ebook. On there, if people want to work with me too, they can find that. So it's juansalgadotrainer.com.
Cool. Cool. Which brings me to my next point. I definitely want to have you on here and talk more nutrition specific stuff with in regards to your ebook. I think that would be really cool.
That'd be dope. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you have anything else you want to say to the guests and to the listeners? You're the guest.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody, just stay strong, get better, try to level up every day. Every day, just like aim to get 1% better. You don't have to make like a huge quantum leap and like become a millionaire like overnight or overnight success. Just like read 10 pages of a good book, listen to like a 20-minute podcast, listen to this podcast, uh, go to the gym for like just 30 minutes. Just do a small little daily habits every day, and eventually it'll all compound and you'll make that big like quantum leap.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree. That's great. It's a great point. I probably only read like 2 to 3 pages a night before I fall asleep. And seriously, it might take me months to get through a book, but it happens. And you can take it in, bite-sized portions and apply it the next day. So for anybody listening, like he said, anybody who might be looking to just get a little bit more insightful for how they operate and how they can improve in all facets of life, you're taking that little step into self-development journey. It's definitely a journey, right? It's not a it's not a one step, it's not a one size fits all. There's no secret sauce. So dive in. I definitely read the books that Juan was talking about. I know I'm gonna add those to my list and capture some of these awesome moments. Juan had some great points throughout the podcast, so definitely loop it back, try to figure out what you found helpful. Comment in the description below. Go check out Juan, his ebook, his website, and the_chosen Juan on Instagram. You'll definitely have a plethora of information to take in. So, Juan, thank you, man. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me on, man. I had fun.
Of course, me too. And we'll talk about setting up another one to talk about the nutritional ebook and everything on that end.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone who's watching, thank you. I appreciate you guys. And until next time, remember, I am, we are, life is limitless.